Welcome to Pastor Andrew's Inspirations. Today we are going to talk about the biblical city of Achaia, a place in ancient Greece. Achaia is in the northernmost region of the Peloponnese, occupying the coastal strip north of Arcadia. Its approximate boundaries are to the south the mountain range of Erymanthus, to the southeast the range of Selene, to the east Sicyon, and to the west the Larissos River. Apart from the plain around Dyme to the west, Achaia was generally a mountainous region. The name of Achaia has a slightly complicated history. Homer uses the term Achaeans as a generic term for Greeks throughout the Iliad. On the other hand, a distinct region of Achaia is not mentioned. The region, later known as Achaia, is instead referred to as Aegialis. Both Herodotus and Pausanias recount the legend that the Achaean tribe was forced out of their lands in the Argolis by the Dorians during the legendary Dorian invasion of the Peloponnese. Therefore, the Achaeans forced the Ionians out of their land. The Ionians took temporary refuge in Athens, and Aegialis became known as Achaia. It was supposedly for this reason that the region known as Achaia in classical Greece did not correspond to Homeric references. Under the Romans, Achaia was a province covering much of central and southern Greece. This is the Achaia referenced in the New Testament Acts, chapter 18, verse 12. And when Gallio was the deputy of Achaia, the Jews made insurrection with one accord against Paul, and brought him to the judgment seat. And in Acts chapter 19, verse 21, after these things were ended, Paul purposed in the Spirit, when he had passed through Macedonia and Achaia, to go to Jerusalem, saying, after I have been there, I must also see Rome. And in Romans chapter 15, verse 26, it reads, for it hath pleased them of Macedonia and Achaia to make a certain contribution for the poor saints which are at Jerusalem. And lastly, in Romans chapter 16, verse 5, likewise greet the church that is in their house. Salute my well-beloved Epaenetus, who is the firstfruits of Achaia under Christ. However, Pausanias' writings in the 2nd century AD devotes one of the books of description of Greece to the ancient region of Achaia, showing that the name locally at least still preserved the use from the classical period. The name Achaia was later used in the Crusader state, the Principality of Achaia, which was from 1205 to 1432, which comprised the whole Peloponnese, thus more closely following Roman use. The modern Greek prefecture of Achaia is largely based on the ancient region. Dolmens and cromlechs have been found in the ancient area of Achaia dating back to the Neolithic period. Flint axes and blades fabricated from materials such as quartz or obsidian have been found in megalithic chamber tombs from the ancient region. Among other finds, alabaster pottery shards have been discovered during excavations at Achaia in Achaia and dated to the 13th century Common Era. The 12 cities of Achaia were grouped into an early Achaean League, which had important cultural and religious functions. In its later 3rd century before Christ's incarnation, the Achaean League would play an important role in Greek politics. According to Pausanias, in 688 before Christ, the city of Hyperesia was threatened by an army from Sicyon. The locals defended their city by placing burning torches on their goats' horns. The Sicyonians retreated, and the Hyperesians renamed their town Aegiria to honor the goats. During the 5th century before Christ, the cities of Achaia were neutral in the Persian Wars and were usually neutral in the struggles between Athens and Sparta. We begin to hear more of Achaia in the following centuries. In 373 before Christ, the Achaean city of Helice was destroyed in a great cataclysm. Immense columns of flame, the first record in history of the phenomenon of earthquake lights, were seen in the days leading up to the earthquake. The quake hit at night, causing Helice to subside, and then a massive tsunami rushed in from the Corinthian Gulf to inundate the city. All the inhabitants perished. The city of Bora, further inland, was also destroyed in the earthquake. In 367 before Christ, during Epaminondas' third invasion of the Peloponnese, the Achaean cities agreed to an alliance with Thebes. But soon, when oligarchs retook the cities of Achaia, they allied with Sparta against Epaminondas. At the Battle of Mantinea in 362 before Christ, the Achaeans were allied to Sparta, Athens, and Mantinea against Thebes. The Achaeans were part of the Greek alliance led by Thebes and Athens, which was defeated by King Philip II of Macedon at the Battle of Chaeronea in 338 before Christ. Subsequently, Achaia was part of the Macedonian-dominated Corinthian League. Achaia was conquered by the Romans in the year 146 before Christ. Emperor Augustus established Achaia as a senatorial province. Generally speaking, the region benefited from the enlightened attitude of Roman emperors such as Augustus. This was because Achaia was geographically closer to Rome than other provinces, and so it was given political advantages and greater status in order for the Roman court to maintain a political equilibrium within the empire. Now, nowadays, we wouldn't have politics with religion, and that's the way it should be, but so it goes. The rule of Achaia in Roman times was placed under the Senate, while a proconsul of praetorian rank was appointed as its governor, with the administrative seat in Corinth. Rome exercised fairly light control over Achaia. No Roman garrisons were posted there. Native religious and social groups were widely tolerated by the Romans, and a general sense of free determination amongst the Greeks was commonplace. After the reign of Augustus, the province of Achaia was combined with Macedonia from the years 15 until 44. coinciding with the frontier troubles. This combined imperial province was overseen by a governor placed at Moesia along the Danube River. In the year 67, Emperor Nero declared Greece to be politically free from the Roman Empire, and the Greeks began their own autonomous rule. However, Roman authority over Greece was re-established soon after with Emperor Vespasian, who placed the province once again in the hands of the Roman Senate. This was the ancient biblical city of Achaia. God's blessings be upon you today.